welcome to VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast. We're on week 63. As always, you can leave us a review on YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. That would be great. It was really helping us a few weeks ago, and I think we got up to number 37 in the iTunes chart, John was telling me, or the Apple chart. Anyway, you know I am Steve Lillis, and with me my co-host John Evans with that great poster behind him that he's regular backdrop. You okay, John?
I am, Steve. You're like a kid at Christmas, aren't you, this week? I know you've been looking forward to this fight week for months now.
And you know what? I had 2 tickets all sorted for me Saturday, and I've got to go to Scotland and work for 2 days at the end of the week. Talk about bad luck. Well, it's come with me. When I've just got to work this week and nothing I can do, but I'm gutted. Absolutely. Never. You know what I've thought of this fight for ages, John. Anyway, there's only one fight. We'll not even mention it. We'll talk plenty about it later. Anyway, our special guest, a boxer who's filled with excitement about Saturday's card. He's looking forward to the big one, KhanBrook, but he's boxing on the undercard. It's VIP's leading middleweight hope, Brad Rea. Bradley, thanks for joining us a few days before what should be a great fight for you.
Yeah, definitely, Steve. Buzzing, mate. Buzzing. It's been a long time coming now. You know, it seems to have dragged a bit the last couple of weeks, but so close now. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting in there on Saturday, you know, like you say, on such a massive stage.
You know, and what I've noticed about you is it's the same thing could be said about someone John wants to talk about on the pod in a bit. You're taking on another fight with a winning record, another unbeaten fighter. This time, Craig McCarthy's the opponent. I think he's drawn 1 and won 8 or 9, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's another undefeated opponent for me. But, you know, it's good. It's good. I feel like I'm at that stage now where I'm ready to kind of get in these fights and test myself a little bit. And it's a fight I'm confident in winning. But I think it's where I'm going to have to, you know, show a few answers. And I'm looking forward to it.
No, it's great. And just let me ask this I know John will want to ask you a thing or two about this weekend and how things are. When it comes to fight week, do you go back home to Earlham or do you still stay at the house in Hyde with the other boxers who train at Ricky's gym?
So Stretford I am, but I'm in Hyde at the moment. Yeah, I'm in Hyde at the moment.
So you don't go home fight week when the work's done. Blaine still keeps you there and...
Yeah. Well, I've got quite a bit on this week. I've got a public workout and a press conference and stuff, and you know I like being on my own a bit fight week, a bit isolated, a bit out of the way, but yeah, it's just kind of keeping yourself busy, you know, like how the hard work's done, like you say. So you know you're doing a lot of sitting around, and usually when I'm sat around I start eating, but I can't eat, so you know you're just sat here bored.
Hey, a fight or an event I'll talk about later on, but a few years ago, when I think Ricky was already a champion, actually, Ricky Hatton. He got a showcase just before the main event when Mike Tyson fought at the arena, and it pushed him to a different level. I think all the fans who'd come to see Tyson got to see Manchester's Great Hope. If they give you any idea of a running order, Brad, are you going to get a good slot here? I imagine Natasha might be main support. I've not seen it myself, but you're going to get a nice, good slot here to really show people what you can do.
I hope so. Because again, that's kind of the idea of me taking these tougher fights to be able to people to look at the fight. You know, that was for my last fight against Jeff Smith. That was kind of the reasoning behind doing that. You know, I thought it meant I'd get a TV slot. Unfortunately, it didn't. But hopefully this time, you know, they've learned the lesson and they'll give me a good slot. So fingers crossed. Anyway.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'll tell you what, you got your bell, your clock ready, everything. You have to keep a decorum and order. I tell you what, John, you're being shoved out of round 1 this week because, you know, we got a big guest this week. You know, he's boxing this week. So, you know, you can't run the show like you usually do and demand, you know, what you want, you know, what sweets you want sent to you for your rider there while you're getting ready and where you want to speak. So we're going to start with Brad this week. And you're round 1 this week. Bradley, you want to talk about careers of the end in injury?
Yeah, so I was watching the Danny Jacobs John Ryder fight at the weekend, and it just kind of came back to me about when Danny Jacobs boxed Dmitry Pirog years ago, and how much of a talent Pirog was, and how he was kind of on his collision course with Golovkin, and how many people were talking about this fight. And then obviously, unfortunately, got injured and he had to retire, and the fight never happened. And it was just, put it out to you. Is there any other fighters that you can think of that you think, I think Pirog would have gone on to do big things. On a smaller scale, you've got like one of my best mates, Danny Wright there, a VIP boxer who unfortunately had to retire as well, who, again, I would have thought was going to go on and do big things in boxing. And, I was just trying to think of a few others kind of over the years, or, maybe a little bit about your time, Steve, before my time that you can think of. And I was just thinking, is there any other fighters that you can think of who maybe had the career cut short?
Pirog was the first one I thought of today, because Steve Bunch just talks about Pirog non-stop. That is one of his big things he'll talk about. He'll talk about anything, but that he's really good on. You know what I was thinking? I spent some time a couple of weeks ago, a recent one with Cash Farouk, and his career has how it's just fallen apart the last few months. I was speaking to him, and how well he seems to have taken it on the outside anyway is incredible. We had a fight in Las Vegas in December that hadn't been announced, but they knew that, and then they thought they just have to move the fight and the problem would be sorted. And the McGregor fight had been agreed and signed for April, the rematch. So really? He could have gone into the summer, literally on the brink of a world title fight. More recently, Anthony Ogogo, he might not, his eye problems, he might not have won a world title, but he had that bit of mainstream appeal through his things he'd done, the Olympics, obviously, but then the swimming show he'd done. There's so many. I was reading about one this afternoon, a guy, Andy Gatley, who retired, who's now a stuntman and actor. What about you, John?
I knew you were going to talk about Pirog with Ryder and Jacobs fighting at weekend. And I'm glad you mentioned it, Brad, because Pirog seemed to get overlooked completely, didn't he, on DAZN? Do you know what? Paul Ingle sticks out for me. I know it's a different situation because Paul got injured in a fight, but I used to love Paul Ingle. He did it the real hard way, didn't he? And he just looked like he was breaking through. He had one of my favourite fights of all time with Junior Jones in Madison Square Garden. I love that fight. But I can't imagine what Paul did to make weight. And I know making weight was a big factor in the fight he got injured in. If he just moved up to super featherweight before that fight, I just wonder where Paul's career could have gone, because he was thrilling. He was a fan's favourite. He came back from that loss to Hamed where he gave a real good account of himself, and he was chasing a rematch, and all of a sudden it was gone.
Round two, over to you, John. The Price is Right.
Yeah, a fighter who doesn't get mentioned very much, but I thought on Saturday he really looked the part again. Hopey Price. Brad might like him because he's got that long, rangy style. He seems to be carrying a little bit more power now. He's hurt people the last few fights. Looked really, really good when he fought Zahad Hussein on the Josh Warrington card. And I know it was a run out at weekend, but he did it how our young, promising fighter should deal with someone like that. There was no getting rounds in. There was no coasting. He was clinical, and he got rid of him. I've talked to Dave Caldwell since, and I was asking him about Hopey, and he says, what we're doing in the gym, although he's got this long reach and he's dangerous and he's finding his power, he said, all I've got him doing is working on the inside stuff, because sooner or later, someone's going to be good enough to get inside on Hopey, and I want them to have a nasty surprise. And he just seems to, he's come up in the shadow of the Olympians, he's built himself slowly, but he just looks like he might have that something about him where he can go on to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. He's kind of a little bit younger than me, Hopey, but I never, with the amateurs, when you come up, you get to know a lot of people. I didn't know him personally, never on any camps or anything with him. But very impressive, tidy boxer, and I remember hearing that for years. But since he's turned pro, like you say, especially the last few fights, you've kind of seen that spite in his shots and hitting a little bit harder, started putting a few people away. And, I don't see why he can't go on to do big things. We've got Ibn Nadim in our gym who's the same weight as him, and I know they had a good fight as an amateur, as amateurs. So, maybe that's another one down the line that could be a good one.
Yeah, I didn't see Saturday night's fight, but the one you touched on, John, Zahid Hussein. I think he was 16-1. And like you say, he does what he does and got rid of me. He got rid of, okay, Zahid isn't, a British champion, but that's a good area level fighter who could win a central area in a few weeks. And he just walked through him. I think he drops him at the end of the first round and then just didn't let him off in the second round, if I remember rightly, that fight, John. And he's also, apart from his debut, like Brad is doing as he's got, learning the ropes on the job, if you want to say. He's beating men with winning records all the time. I think that his debut was the only one that didn't have the winning record.
Yeah, he fought Johnny Phillips, who a rough, tough kid who always comes to have a go as well. It's just something about him, and he's not had the hype, he's not had the build-up. He probably doesn't like speaking in front of the camera much, like a lot of lads. But I just think there's something there. He's going to have to be matched properly, isn't he, to get people's interest. And it seems like one of those fighters who, the big of a challenge you put in front of him, you might just get the better out of him. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where Hopey goes.
Round 3, topic we haven't, we speak about most weeks. And I'm just wondering now, Dillian Whyte has 7 days. The WBC gave him until the 21st of February to sign that Fury contract. And it's still radio silence, from him, his whole camp. I just find it bizarre. The contracts for these sort of fights, purse bid fights, I'm told are pretty straightforward. They're standard contracts. You're getting paid this much, and that's it. These are you what's expected your PR wise. No big headaches. They've had that contract now for over a week, and it still hasn't been signed. Look, he's guaranteed about, I think, on dollar to pounds, he's guaranteed 5.2 million, and he gets about another 3 million pounds in bonuses if he wins. I'm just really getting a bit, is there gamesmanship where he's taking it to the wire and will deliver it to Frank Warren's office at 4:59 before business closes next week? Is there something going on behind that we don't know about, where he's trying to get more money? Because obviously he wasn't happy with how the purse was split up. And it's just radio silence, apart from the odd comment from Eddie, where he just says he's in daily contact and he's a friend of Dillian's and he's there to help him. I just want, get your take on it.
Makes no sense to me. This is the opportunity White's been banging on for years, isn't it? I thought Dillian would have jumped at this, knowing the character he portrays. What an amount of money. If you were truly confident in yourself, you wouldn't be thinking I was getting 5.2 million. You'd be thinking I'm getting 8.2 because I'm going to get that 3 million bonus. Is there another thing in the pipeline, Steve? Are they talking about matching him with Joshua or something like that? Is there something else like that going on in the background? But I'm just hoping, like you, that I want to see Fury active. So fingers crossed White signs it, gets the contract in, and we can get on with it.
Yeah, I'm really getting a bit sick of all these heavyweights, maybe. You just don't know what to believe, do you? And you get to the point where you don't believe any of them. I think Fury's the main one who's going to contradict himself every other week in interviews and stuff. And even when you had the Fury Usyk fight talked about and Joshua was stepping aside, it's all just too much talk for my liking now. I know it's a big part of it, selling the fights and social media and stuff, but if you're not fighting, there's no fights to sell, so they just need to get on with it and fight.
Fury White is also becoming in danger, even if the contract's signed, the way the talk's going, or the talk from what Eddie's saying, there's nothing from White, where the man in the street ends up not believing it's going to happen until they actually get in the ring, despite the contract being signed. And that's round 4 is a topic we talk about a lot, but it's great Bradley's come up with this one. He wants to talk about them, so we'll hear his opinion on rematch clauses.
Yeah, I just think, oh God, don't get me started now.
You go, you fire away. You got 3 minutes.
Have a rant, Bradley. Have a rant.
Have a John Evans rant.
Yeah, man, I don't think they're any good for boxing at all. I think, we're getting rematches that the first fight was either boring and no one asked for and wanted to see again, or was really one-sided and you don't need a rematch for it. And it's kind of stopping other better fights happening down the line, and it's just happening too much. And I do understand, why a champion might put a rematch clause in or whatever, but it seems to be every fight now. even when there's no titles on the line, stuff like that. And, you know, I just think it's getting a bit out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think John's got a saying when this comes up that it parks up the divisions. It just causes too much congestion. And as John says, you know, the only sort of pass outs I'll give to rematch clauses, and you both might disagree with me, something like KhanBrook on Saturday. There's a rematch clause in that. I think if Khan loses, is what Brook has been quoted as saying. And you know what? If they had a controversial fight or Khan was winning easily and got done, with, you know, who knows, it could easily happen. And they had a rematch, I'd understand why, because Spence and Crawford, they're never going to get near again. You know, even they fought guys like the winner went on and fought a guy like Thurman. They're going to get nowhere near the money that they'd get for a rematch at this stage of their career. So in that case, I can give it a pass out for these sort of fights. But on the whole, I agree with you, John.
Yeah, it's when there's titles on the line, and although I know there's too many titles, but when there's belts involved and there's rematches, it just completely slows the whole thing down, doesn't it? It means there's less chance of unifications. It means number one challengers don't get the shot they require or they deserve and things like that. Yeah, I hate them. And nowadays, it seems like if a challenger is going to beat a champion, they've got to beat them 2 times out of 3. You know, it's not just one, is it? If you beat them first time, that means you get a rematch and you're going to have to beat them again. It's completely wrong. I'm with you, Bradley.
Joe Joyce has been #1 WBO heavyweight since last summer, and the WBO are strict on mandatory. So by rights, he should be ordered to get a fight very, very soon. But he's waiting patiently because he knows the money ahead. But the reason he's been stopped is because of the rematch with Usyk and Anthony Joshua. You know, there's an example there. But he seems happy waiting for his shot in that case, maybe because he knows what big money he's going to be fighting for by the end of the year.
And as it's a mandatory, it's not even supposed to be a rematch, is there?
No.
It just goes to show you can bend the rules however you
want. I think this is one of my favourite topics ever, especially as we're all from the Manchester area and it's, you know, a bit regionalised. But John.
Yeah, best ever atmospheres at the MEN Arena. Now, I know the first one that's going to jump off the page is Ricky Hatton against Kostya Tszyu at 2 o'clock that June night, wasn't it? But I've got a couple more. Quiggan-Frampton, the atmosphere for Quiggan-Frampton was insane. Like the 15, 20 minutes, that brilliant 15, 20 minutes before the ring entrance is a big fight. That was an incredible atmosphere the Irish fans put out that night. Incredible. But the one that sticks out for me was when Mike Tyson fought Julius Francis. Now, me and my mate got tickets. We were on floor seats right next to, literally leaning on the barrier when Tyson walked in. And when Crocodile opened those double doors, it was as if all the air in the arena got sucked out. I've never experienced an atmosphere like it, or a man to have so much control over 20,000 people. It was like a goal in terracing. Everyone rushed forward to try and see him and touch him. I'll never again experience an atmosphere like that, I don't think. But what are yours?
Yeah, that's #1 for me. The Hatton Kostya Tszyu, I don't call it a myth, but because it was 3 o'clock in the morning, the crowd were going mad till about 11, 12 o'clock. You know, being there by a certain time that night, you know, and the bar shut. So by about 1, it was silent in there. And then about 2 o'clock when they made the ring walks, 2:10, I think it was, the place erupted again. But you know what? I'll give you 2 other ones. And I'm going back, you know, I'm well older than you two, especially you, Brad, blimey. I mean, Naz Wilfredo Vasquez, the unification. I remember the place going nuts when the ring broke in the 6th or 7th round and they had to put the ring together. I'm going to throw this one out. Hatton versus Eamon McGee. That was a mad night, that whole atmosphere. I'll tell you why. It was also Farnell and Gomez are on the bill. And then before Ricky fought, I think Michael had lost to Kevin Lear, one of those great wasted talents from London. He was a fucking good fighter, believe me. And Farnell had lost to Rubin Gromwald. So the place was like 2 of the heroes who were a big part of the integral part of Manchester arena boxing had been beaten that night. And then suddenly it was all on Ricky. And then he had that terrible first round against McGee. And I'm convinced in that, you know, he was hurt. And in that second round onwards, that crowd got him through that fight to win as he did in the end. And that night was something else in there. And that's the one that sticks with me, taking out Tyson Francis, Tyson Julius, which is rightly #1. What about you, Brad? I know we're going on and on with this round, but so what?
Yeah, it's a very, very special arena, isn't it? And I don't know if I'm just saying that because I am a Manc and it's where I've grew up, and that's where, if I was going to watch boxing, that's the main arena. And people have always asked me about dream venue, and without a doubt, it's a sold-out Manchester Arena. It's easy. One that I followed Crawler everywhere when I was a young kid, and one that stands out to me, and it wasn't when he won the title, it was when he boxed Barroso.
Yeah.
And
I was there that night, Ismael Barroso. Yeah.
And it wasn't, and again, it was kind of like the crowd was carrying him because he had a rocky start. He had to kind of take a lot. And you see now it was the game plan and it worked a treat. But it wasn't full. The top tier wasn't open, but the noise that was coming, it was unbelievable. And that's one that always kind of springs to mind when I think of the arena.
Yeah, you know what? It's the personal memories. Fantastic. I know we overrun there. Final round. That was a great debate. I really enjoyed that round there, fellas. Final round. Just want to see if any of you have got any conviction for a tip this weekend. KhanBrook. So many scenarios. I've not met one person who can say either way. I spoke to a couple of guys that have sparred with Brook, and they say that he's obviously not the force he was, but he's still hitting hard and he can punch. You might have heard the same, John. I've spoken with Khan's trainer and he sold me a great Amir Khan, but I'm not so sure. I've just got no idea. For a long time, I've gone into a fight and I've got no idea how it is going to go. So many scenarios. And I'll tell you what, if you put my head on a block right now and I had to pick one, I'll go for one. I'll go for Brook in about 7 or 8, purely because Amir's feet might slow and he'll start getting caught. But absolutely no idea. And if KhanBrook won in seven rounds, or 8 rounds, that would never, ever in my lifetime be an I told you so tip. What do you think, Bradley? I know you've been concentrating on yourself, but people must be driving you mad who you were selling tickets to, or the allocation you got that you sold over it.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of them. It's been changing my mind every day. Asked me a few weeks ago, I was convinced Khan was going to box his head off over points. And then about 2 weeks ago, I started changing my mind and I thought he was getting flattened. And then recently, I think I'm swaying back towards Khan. I just think, like you say, they're not the fighters that they were. They probably had slowed down a little bit. But a slow Khan is still very, very, very fast. And I just think if he can kind of stay out of the way of one of them big Brook shots, he can cruise to a decision. I'm not sure how much Brook's got left. I don't think he's been the same really since that Golovkin fight and that injury. And it's mad how much one fight can kind of take out of a boxer. But I think that fight was kind of a step too far for him with the step up in weight and again such a big puncher in Golovkin. I think it kind of took a bit from him that he's never got back. So that's me now. I'm going Khan.
John.
Right. Well, but when I think about Brook timing him with that right hand, because the thing to beat speed is timing, isn't it? But if they had both deteriorated, like you just said, Bradley, Khan's still going to be quick. Even if he's slowed down, he's still going to be quick. But if Brook's just lost that split-second timing, that's a massive part of his game gone, isn't it? But the last thing you lose is your power. And I think Brook's probably a stiffer hitter. So it's completely up in the air. I think Brook might want it more. I think Brook's got more resentment, hasn't he, and anger, I think, towards Amir than the opposite way around. Oh, I don't know. Right, I'm going to have Brook by stoppage in inside 8, and it'll be a right hand.
Wow. You know what? I'm really, I've said this when the fight was made. These boxing hipsters that were knocking it because, they're fighting now and they should have. You know what? Bollocks to them. This fight.
This is a big fight.
This is brilliant. Look at you're fighting on the bill, and your excitement just being part of it. Part of the week, the press conference on Thursday, going to the Trafford Centre, is it doing your open workout, being a part of it. big fight, and you're part of it. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. And, you know, like I was just saying when we were talking about the arena, you know, it's been a dream of mine to fight at a sold-out Manchester Arena. And as we said before, I'm not sure where I'm going to be on the card, but hopefully it's busy when I'm in there and the atmosphere starts to build. And, you know, hopefully it's the first of many for me. Hopefully we'll be back and one day selling it out myself.
I'll tell you what, Bradley, I think you'll realise how big it is at the press conference, because that's going to be people might not have really started latching onto it yet and talking about it much, but that's going to be a big event, that press conference, because the media's going to be out, and you might get a surprise just how big a fight this is and how big a night it is on Thursday.
and that you know, I mean, like John, I don't know if you've been backstage at fights there at all, Brad.
At the arena.
You've been backstage there, haven't you?
Only when I boxed there,
yeah. You boxed there, yeah. But I mean, when you've been backstage there, that long walk from the dressing rooms, isn't it?
Yeah. And you can imagine, you know, if that's you know, you get louder and louder as the closer you get. And obviously when them doors open, like you said with Tyson, I bet it's some noise. But oh no, I'm buzzing. I'll definitely be hanging around for it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big event. You know, it's fun. I always judge a big event. I mean, I've got, you know, a lot of mates that, you know, I went football Saturday to see my mob play, and a couple of lads there I just see at away games were saying to me, who do you think wins KhanBrook? You know, and these are guys that they've got no real interest in boxing, you know, but apart from big fights, but they know about this next week, and that tells you how big it is. And people that are knocking it because they're not meeting should embrace it, because it's fantastic. Are you there, John, Saturday?
We'll see. I'm not sure yet.
Let's hope you're there, mate. Let's hope you're there. I can't believe I'm not there. I'm ill over it. But there you go. Work has to come first. Sometimes.
Just me then.
Just me then, mate. Yeah. I think we'll get John Evans in there somehow, mate. We've got to get John Evans in there. Even if it can come, I don't know. You know, these guys have these people. One carries a bag, one carries a gum shield, and just to get in the arena. You don't even know the names of them.
I'll get you a Team Ray t-shirt, John.
Yeah. I need one of them. But stick with the sting on. Hey, another thing, just before we go, as it's a VIP podcast, I'm sure it's not common knowledge. It's not going to break any embargoes. But the little Filipino at Arnie's gym, Mike Romarate, seems like he might be getting a lead in with VIP boxing. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but apparently he's impressing in sparring at the minute. Exciting little Filipino fighter. I'm a flyweight and superfly. I think he'll be thrill a minute if he actually does get in a British ring.
Yeah, it's good that he's come back here. And I don't know if he's going. I know he's with Arnie, whether he's going on VIP shows or not. But you know what? He's going to have to go in hard fights pretty quick as well, I think, because he's not going to sell a ticket. He doesn't know anyone here. But it's fantastic that a boxer like that has come to Manchester, a Filipino. Of all the places, most of them just go to America. He's come to Manchester to live. I don't even know. I think he's living with a mate now, isn't he? Who already lived here or something. Incredible. Do you know him at all, Brad?
No, I've not seen much of him, but I'll keep an eye out, definitely. Any little Filipino gets you excited, though, doesn't it? You know, you just think of Pacquiao straight away, and the likes of Donaire, you know, they can fight. So, yeah, I'll keep my eye out.
Well, fellas, thanks very much. I really enjoyed that tonight. And the 3 minutes or whatever it took on the Manchester Arena atmosphere was a brilliant one. You come up there with John. Brad, thanks for your insight tonight. What's obvious from speaking to you, Bradley, you're not just a boxer, you're a fan as well, aren't you?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I know.
I love it. You know, I say all the time, you know, even if it wasn't boxing, I'd still be on Twitter talking bollocks, and I'd still be watching all the interviews. And, you know, I'm just very lucky that, you know, the sport that I love, you know, I get to do it for my profession as well. So just count my blessings every day and enjoy it, because it's a short career, isn't it? So just take it all in.
Yeah, I was following your Twitter feed. I was on a train back from Hull on Saturday night during the early stage of the boxing, and I missed Felix Cash, and I was enjoying your tweets during Felix Cash, and it was so obvious that you were rooting for him once he got knocked down from your tweets, that you were really with him. And, you know, you could, it was coming through from your post, mate.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Cash, to be fair. And that was a tough fight. That Russian was no joke. But, you know, I think he won the fight convincingly. I think he won most of the rounds that he didn't get knocked down in or had the pint off. But it was another tasty one and good matchmaking, I think.
Okay, what about you, Dolphy, against Denzel, Brad? that's a good fight that's been put out.
Yeah, now that is a tasty one. I was speaking to Udolphia at the Williams Eubank fight the other week, and he said, you know, they're waiting for a date for it, I think, going to purse bids and that. And I think since then I've seen that Wasserman have won the purse bids. That's a good fight. I think I might be swaying towards Udolphia. But then Bentley's got kind of that awkward style, which, you know, can cause anyone nightmares, and he hits very hard. So it'll be an exciting one. Again, you know, my division is absolutely, you know, it's bouncing. So many good fights to be made, and you know, I'm trying to get involved. You know, I'm a bit behind all them lot at the moment, but you know, I'm putting my foot down and trying to get involved.
Yeah, I think people might be sleeping on Denzel's power a little bit after the last couple of fights.
Cash was brilliant that night. He was absolutely, he was very, very good that night, and he showed the other night. I mean, I haven't seen the fight the other night, but you know, I'm sure he showed what he was about. But maybe I'm a bit biased because I think Denzel's one of the nicest guys you can meet. He also comes from Battersea, where I come from. So there you go. I'm Team Denz. And I think John likes Denz.
We'll get him back on before the fight.
Yeah, we would. He's a mate of John's as well. So him and John are pals. So
yeah, anyway, we'll get Denzel on before the fight.
Fellas, thanks very much for tonight. Thanks a lot, Brad, for affording us some time during fight week, because by the end of this week, you'll be sick of doing interviews. You'll be sick of people asking about car. Enjoy it, because you know what? Big fight weeks. This is the start of many of them for you, because you're 11-0 now. You know, you've got a long way to go in your career. You could have another 7, 8, 9 of these nights, and you know, 6 or 7 of them headlining. Who knows? You just to enjoy every minute of this week, because as we spoke about, some guys are unlucky through injury.
Of course, yes, mate. That's a dream. That's a dream, and fingers crossed. I keep working hard, and hopefully, you know, it'll be me headlining one day, like you said.
Anything to add, John? Or it's Monday night now. I'm sure John's off to celebrate Valentine's night tonight, so we'll let you go, John, and get spruced up and shaved up and the hair all greased up for the night. My wife's gone to Spain for a few days, and this poor fella Bradley's locked up in Hyde. So you have a nice glass of Chardonnay on Brad tonight, and a glass of water on me, because I don't advocate alcohol. But there you go, fellas. Right. Anything to say, John?
No, nothing to say to that, Steve.
Well, when you wanted to bring the recording back earlier, it was obvious. I just didn't want to say. But thanks a lot, fellas.
Top lad, nice one, Steve. Cheers, John.
Cheers, John.
See you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.